At First at 10, marching against mandates tonight. The legal battle in New York continues. The city workers will soon be forced to get vaccinated. We'll have details.
Plus, as we come on the air, the search is on for the gunman who shot a strap hanger on a subway car. What we know about the attempted robbery during rush hour. But first.
This is a weather alert from Pix 11 News.
Tonight, Governor Hochul has declared a state of emergency ahead of heavy rainfall as the tri-state braces for a nor'easter. Here's a live look at the streets of Newark. It's the calm-ish before the storm, but we know overnight we're expecting some serious downpours. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Tamsen Fidel.
I'm Corey Chambers. All eyes, of course, on the weather tonight. Some areas of the tri-state could face 3 to 5 inches of rain. We have team coverage for you. Allison Caden in Queens, where communities, of course, still recovering from Ida.
Yeah, Greg Mocker is in Lower Manhattan with the storm preps for your morning commute. But Mr. G kicking us off with the very latest on this system. Hi, G.
All right, Tamsen, let's go to work. This is the latest. A flood watch in effect from Ulster down the ocean, from Sussex across to Nassau and Suffolk County. And for tomorrow in the afternoon especially, winds can gust upwards of 50 miles per hour. That's Suffolk County, and that's why a wind advisory is in effect for Tuesday in the afternoon. We dodge one bullet right away. This is hefty rain that came just to the west of the city. These areas probably had an inch of rain in the bucket. They had lightning strikes as well, and a flash flood warning in effect for Essex and Passaic, Clifton, Passaic, as mentioned, Patterson, and also Wayne County prone to flooding. And you can see also lightning strikes all across portions of the oranges. That's east-west. So the first batch goes by to the west of the city. Now, the secondary low is beginning to develop. All the moisture is coming together off the middle Atlantic states. The primary fades, the energy passes to the coast, and this is your nor'easter as it tracks in our direction. Then we get into the heavy rain, 1, 2, 3 a.m. till about 11 a.m. tomorrow. Then it rains all day. And the question is, how much rain are we looking at? We'll chat more about that later on.
All right, G, thank you.
Well, it has been less than 2 months after Hurricane Ida produced record flooding across the tri-state area.
And while this nor'easter is certainly not expected to dump as much rain, New Yorkers are not taking chances. Pix 7's Allison Caden continues our coverage tonight, live from Hollis, Queens, with details. Allison.
And good evening to you. Just about 2 hours ago, the street behind me was filled with cars. We're on 90th Avenue in Hollis. But the people who live here know this street floods, and they are concerned about this nor'easter and the potential for heavy rain. This is what 90th Avenue and 183rd Street in Hollis, Queens look like when Hurricane Ida dumped record rainfall on New York in early September. Tonight, this neighborhood, still recovering from Ida, is bracing for another storm.
The city said it was going to drop sandbags for us. We're still waiting because we have to block up all the doors, all the windows.
Alex Muklal is moving his family's cars to higher ground. During heavy rainfall, this is where water ends up. Ida's floodwater killed 2 people in a basement apartment here.
From every direction, from Hillside, from Jamaica, so we're at the bottom of the pit.
This nor'easter is expected to produce several inches of rain and gusty wind. Flooding is nothing new for Howard Beach. The community is surrounded by water.
Make sure the bumpers are tied up, the string lines are tied up, nothing's loose.
Richie Soriano's boat sits close to Jamaica Bay. He needs to securely tie it up to prevent damage. Soriano says he expects water to fill the streets during high tide.
Live by the water, you got to deal with it.
Ida's deadly flooding put the city and state on alert. While this nor'easter is not expected to be as bad, officials want people to pay attention to the weather, listen for alerts, and stay out of harm's way.
If you see an area that looks flooded, you're out walking or driving in an area that looks like it has become flooded, please exercise caution.
And that means going a different way, not driving or walking through a flooded area. Sometimes you just cannot tell how deep it is. The rain has not yet started where we are in Queens, but the governor has already declared a state of emergency. Officials say crews are ready to address any flooding or storm damage. We're live in Hollis, Queens. Allison Caden, Pix 11 News.
All right, Allison, thank you.
Well, certainly the transit system is built to endure most storms, but we have seen what happens when it is overwhelmed.
Yeah, we sure have. MTA crews are already at work tonight. Pix 7's Greg Mocker joining us live from Lower Manhattan with the storm preps that are underway already. Greg.
Hi, Tamsin and Corey. Transit officials are not anticipating the worst case scenario, which is a lot of rain really fast, but flash flooding is unpredictable, hence the flash part of that. So there are more crews out now at more locations with more pumps. Here comes the train, and here comes the rain again. The countdown clock and message boards show regular service. It is the calm before the storm. This rider is ready to go nowhere on Tuesday.
But I'll be in the house tomorrow.
MTA officials want the public to know they are ready for anything, holding a media briefing outside headquarters and the Bowling Green station in Lower Manhattan.
We've actually increased the number of stations where we deploy and pre-deploy equipment and people from what it was in the past.
The viral videos have become a regular thing whenever the rain and storms move in. Flooded subway platforms and tracks tend to happen when the city sewers can't handle the amount of rain. Subway and station crews will immediately alert the control center of any conditions.
We manned our control center starting at 4 p.m. this afternoon, and most of our crews started at the locations themselves as of 6 p.m. tonight. So they're already in place, ready for whatever comes our way.
MTA and the city have learned lessons since earlier storms in the summer. Some trains did need to be evacuated as water stopped them in tunnels.
What we do is we go there and we make sure that we optimize the conditions, that we clean the catch basins, we make sure that the drains are working everywhere, we get to the valves that are vulnerable for whatever reason, and we attack those problems. We block off the grates. All of those actions are being taken in advance, but flash flooding is unpredictable, so it's no guarantee.
In the past year, more of those electronic message boards have been installed in stations. They can deliver real-time information. Keep an eye on those on social media accounts, mine too, and of course the Pix 11 Morning News. Outside MTA headquarters, Greg Mocker, Pix 11.
Yeah, that morning commute is going to be the big story. Thank you, Greg.
Wow, it sure is. We're going to continue, of course, to follow all the details of the system as it sweeps through our region. We're also going to have updates for you, lists of school closures across the tri-state. Make sure and check the very latest at pix11.com. All right, well, all new at 10 tonight, a strap hanger is shot by a gunman on the train as it was entering the Union Square subway station. Tonight, police looking for that attacker.
Yeah, this happened on a crowded rush hour train right before 5 p.m. Officials say the 42-year-old victim was on a northbound N train when he was approached by the gunman who demanded his phone. That gunman shot the strap hanger in the leg when he didn't respond fast enough, then took off.
Suspect was able to exit the train station and has not been apprehended. Our officers who responded immediately applied a tourniquet to the victim's leg, who was then removed to Bellevue Hospital for treatment, and he is in stable condition.
All right, this hour, that gunman is still on the run. If you have any information at all on the case, give police a call and help them out. Well, now to the pandemic tonight. There is more progress toward a vaccine for younger children. That's good news amid rising concerns about a new COVID variant.
Officials say the mutation is known as Delta Plus. It's been detected now in 30 states. We're just talking about this one the other day, and look, it's already 30. The virus strain is spreading rapidly in the UK and is believed to be more contagious than the highly transmissible Delta variant. Meanwhile, tomorrow, the FDA's advisory board meets to consider the recommendation for vaccinations for children under 12. The request will then head to the CDC for final approval.
If you look at the data that's been made public and announced by the company, the data look good as to the efficacy and the safety. It's entirely possible, if not very likely, that vaccines will be available for children from 5 to 11 within the first week or two of November.
The Biden administration says it has purchased enough of the vaccine for every child from 5 to 11 in the U.S.
Well, there's now less than a week until a new vaccine mandate takes effect for New York City municipal workers. Today, well, we saw some of the response there. A large group they're taking to the Brooklyn Bridge saying they will not comply.
And maybe the strongest indication yet that the mayor and the city, they do have a fight on their hands when the mandate begins. Pix 11's James Ford has the latest from City Hall.
Crowds started gathering around 11 a.m. and quickly swelled. They were outside of FDNY headquarters at Metro Tech in Brooklyn. Many of the protesters were firefighters who've worked through the pandemic.
We were there and nobody had anything to say. All they said was your gloves, your mask, and your Lysol.
All here say they're against the mandate, despite assurances and evidence that supports that COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Violating the mandate will result in any city worker who's not vaccinated on Monday being placed on unpaid leave.
My job is to defend, protect, and service. So you're going to come after my paycheck.
And then they set out for the Brooklyn Bridge. It's one of the 5 busiest in the country, but not today. As the NYPD tweeted, the protest shut it down.
What do we want? Freedom!
These images showed what that looked like for the better part of an hour, as far as the eye could see. Nothing but people in support of a cause.
I'm standing for my freedoms, and I'm standing for everyone else.
Today's march across the bridge to City Hall was the latest in a series of protests indicating strong opposition to the mayor's order requiring a vaccination by the end of the workday Friday or no paycheck come Monday.
I will ask all of you to go to work. Let the mayor send you home. What happens will be on him.
I asked the mayor to respond.
Very powerful example of Department of Education. It was a couple of weeks ago we had a deadline, and then since then 3,500 DOE employees have gone and gotten vaccinated who missed that original deadline. I think you're going to see some of that.
Outside of the room where he said that, the march became a rally well into the afternoon. Also on Monday, the PBA, the union representing rank-and-file police officers, filed a lawsuit against the mandate, asking a judge to stop it from going into effect next week. But every challenge to city mandates so far have gone in the city's favor. Reporting from outside City Hall, I'm James Ford, Pix 11 News.
All right, still to come in the Pix 11 News at 10. The parents of Brian Laundrie have decided against having a funeral for their son, what they're going to do instead.
Yeah, plus the city's handling of Eric Garner's death from an NYPD chokehold more than 7 years ago. Now the subject of a new judicial inquiry. A report on today's hearing when we're back in just 90 seconds.
You're watching the Pix 11 News at 10 with Tamsin Fidel, Corey Chambers, Mr. G with your weather, and Andy Adler with sports. We're New York's very own.
All right, welcome back. Take a look live out there, the streets of Newark. You know what? We were calling this a calm before the storm, but we're seeing some wet streets out there right now as we get ready for that nor'easter heading our way.
Look, the rain's going to be really tough and it's coming down pretty hard during the morning commute. So that is what we're watching. Mr. G will be back up in a few moments with an update on the track of this storm. Well, tonight we are learning that there will not be a funeral for Brian Laundrie. His parents have apparently decided against it. Instead, they plan to cremate their son. Laundrie's remains were found last week inside Florida's 25,000-acre Carlton Reserve. He was the sole person of interest in the killing of his fiancée, Gabby Petito. Investigators are still trying to figure out how he died. An autopsy came back inconclusive.
And we are learning more about the investigation into that deadly shooting accident on a movie set in New Mexico.
Yeah, the assistant director involved has a history of production-related safety issues, we're told. The Associated Press has confirmed that Dave Halls was fired from a previous job after a gun went off on a movie set and injured a crew member. According to officials, Halls was the one who handed Alec Baldwin the gun that discharged last week, killing a cinematographer and injuring the director. Witnesses say Halls announced that gun was safe. Cold gun is a term they used right before the incident.
The long-awaited hearing into the death of Eric Garner, it started today.
Yeah, the judicial inquiry will look into the actions of officers in both Garner's arrest in 2014 and in the aftermath of his death. The public is expected to hear testimony from about a dozen witnesses, including several officers directly involved. But unlike a traditional trial, there will be no ruling by a judge or verdict by a jury.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's about transparency and giving the public a better understanding of what happened that day when Garner took his last breath, something Garner's mother has been pushing for since day one of her quest for justice.
It's been delays, it's been postponements, it's been just always trying to sweep it under the rug. But as Eric's mother, I was not letting it get swept under the rug.
All right, the hearings are expected to go on for at least 2 weeks.
Governor Hochul and Mayor de Blasio both received their COVID booster shots today. The pair got the shots during separate live on-air news conferences, both eligible because they received the single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine earlier this year. Governor Hochul got her booster upstate at a public ribbon cutting. You saw that earlier. And at the Decker College of Nursing and Health Sciences, Mayor de Blasio got his Moderna booster from City Health Commissioner Dave Chachki. The city has administered over 227,000 COVID vaccine boosters since getting clearance from the CDC. The Biden administration is laying out new vaccination rules for international air travel, including an exemption for kids.
Yeah, it all starts in 2 weeks, beginning November the 8th. International visitors will need to be fully vaccinated. They're also going to need to be tested before boarding. Children under the age of 18 will not be required to be fully vaccinated. Those who are 2 and over will be subjected to the same COVID-19 testing policy as their parent or guardian. Well, President Biden was in the Garden State today to celebrate a key transportation project and promote his Build Back Better agenda. The president was in Kearney for the launching of construction on the new Portal Bridge.
Yeah, the railroad span over the Hackensack River is 110 years old. The president pointed out that it's often a choke point for trains along the Northeast Corridor, causing massive delays to mechanical issues.
The president says a new Portal Bridge project is an example of the infrastructure investments in his legislative package being negotiated on Capitol Hill. Basil John has the latest from Washington.
President Joe Biden says he's close to a deal with his Build Back Better plan.
So let's get this done.
Progressives and moderates have debated back and forth over the past few weeks on the substance of the bill and the price.
These bills are about competitiveness versus complacency.
The bipartisan infrastructure bill waits in limbo until progressives say they see a way forward on the president's social spending bill.
And it isn't enough just to invest in our physical infrastructure. We also have to invest in our people. That's what my second bill, the Build Back Better plan, does.
President Biden says both of these investments will advance the country on the world stage.
When we make these investments, there can be no stopping America. We will own the future.
Democrats say there is agreement on 90% of the current Build Back Better bill.
No one ever said passing transformational legislation like this would be easy, but we are on track to get this done.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says his party is focused on helping Americans. But Pennsylvania Republican Congressman John Joyce and Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell say Democrats are irresponsible.
This is reckless spending. We're allowing the Democrats, the socialists, to go on a spending spree.
Our Democratic colleagues and President Biden are behind closed doors dreaming up creative new ways to grab literally historic amounts of the American people's money.
The House could vote on both infrastructure bills as early as this week. Reporting in Washington, I'm Basil John.
All right, let's go back to the really the top story today, and really it's going to be a top story for the morning. This nor'easter, Mr. G.
Yeah, and actually in the afternoon into tomorrow night, but the heftiest will be tonight after midnight through tomorrow midday. Got a coastal flood advisory in effect for tides 1 to 2 feet above the norm. You can see from the Battery, Nassau to Suffolk County and coastal Connecticut. You got Thames very mild because a warm front has crossed the region. You got hefty rains and a flash flood warning in effect until 12:45 a.m. for Clifton, Passaic, Patterson, Wayne, and also Essex County and Passaic County. You got lightning strikes, and once that band came on through, it really caused a lot of problems in terms of quick, heavy downpours, probably an inch plus in spots. Now we wait for round two. The leading edge of a frontal system will stall out, a secondary front and a coastal front, and also a storm will develop, and a lot going on here, but the nor'easter will take shape. And it will take shape between figure 1 a.m. to about 4 a.m. here in the city. The heavy rain begins, and you can see the training of the heavy rain get into the early morning rush. Leave yourself time. Strong northeasterly winds. And now it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and you can see brief break, perhaps for a couple of hours, and then the rain comes back in the afternoon and early evening and may come down briefly hard. But the heaviest for sure is in the hopper for 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches spots, even more than that. Look at the computer modeling. When we go 3 to 5 inches, that's the graph, the GFS, the European, the North American model. You take them all together, that's billions of formulas and algorithms. Bang, you get 3 to 5. These are the numbers. We dry it out Wednesday and Thursday. Halloween trick or treat, 6 days away. We'll chat.
All right, G, thank you.
Well, today, both candidates for mayor of New York City stopped by Pix 11 to answer some tough questions ahead of Election Day. We have a recap of our mayoral forum next.
And when we come back, celebrating breast cancer survivors, how the community came together to honor these brave women. We'll be right back. All right, as we come back on this Monday night, a live look at the Mario Cuomo Bridge. 13 New York State bridges and landmarks lit up in pink to mark Breast Cancer Awareness Month this October. Well, massages, new wigs, and a full day of getting pampered. That is what breast cancer survivors and patients were treated to at a Brooklyn hospital today.
It was to mark the final week of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Pix 7's Michelle Ross has more.
Brookdale Hospital is getting a pink makeover for the day, but the facility isn't the only thing getting done up. Breast cancer survivors and patients are too.
We wanted them to think about the joyous time, the enjoyment, the happiness.
This comes after one patient told staff that she only comes here for treatment.
They've been through so much that we wanted them to not think about the treatment. We didn't want them to think about the disease.
For massages, beauty products, jewelry, and new wigs, it's a day of renewal, strengthening them as they go on their journey.
Just giving them hugs, warm welcome, and just really encouraging them to just relax and really enjoy the day and allow us to celebrate them. So I'm looking forward to seeing them and their makeovers and just really seeing them shine.
Sophia Taylor has been diagnosed with breast cancer 3 times. Right now, she's battling it at stage 3. Her first diagnosis came in 2005.
Brookdale has been a living legacy for me. That's 16 years they have kept me alive, and I'm so grateful.
She's speaking to the crowd, encouraging the other women to let them know there is life after breast cancer.
Going through the trials and tribulations of having breast cancer, know that we have these organizations that actually come out and show us the gratitude of just being survivors is wonderful for me.
Hospital staff members who've also fought the battle share their stories to let the women know they're not alone.
And seeing how good the survivors are feeling after the event, the organizers say there's no doubt they're going to do this every year. In Brownsville, Michelle Ross, Pix 11 News.
All right, coming up, the push to unionize on Staten Island.
Yeah, warehouse workers are taking on Amazon, a company that has a history of fending off unions. Details next. Plus this.
Pix 11 News sat down one-on-one with the leading candidates for mayor. I'm Ayanna Harry, and I'll break down our exclusive special coming up.
Well, Pix 7's your local election headquarters, and tonight the race to City Hall is ramping up with Eric Adams and Curtis Sliwa on Pix, laying out what they do if they become the city's next mayor. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Corey Chambers.
And I'm Tamsin Fidel. You watch it here on Pix 11. Mayoral candidates trying to make their case as we head into the final days of the campaign. Pix 11's Anna Harry has the latest.
Working with the NYPD, vaccine mandates, and the future of gifted and talented programs, Curtis Sliwa and Eric Adams will spend the next few days trying to win over your vote. They're focusing on the pressing issues that matter to New York voters. For months, Democrat Eric Adams and Republican Curtis Sliwa have been fighting to become New York City's next mayor. During this intense final week of campaigning, Pix 11 News sat down with the contenders.
Pix 11 has been the fairest station in giving coverage to both my opponent, Eric Adams, and myself.
Our exclusive Pix 11 News, News Nation, and Emerson College poll found Adams leading Sliwa 61% to 25% among likely voters. Despite the numbers, Sliwa believes he has a path to victory.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. With the independents and the Latinos and Latinas and all the time that I've spent in places that Republicans never go.
Ahead of anchor Dan Manarino's wide-ranging interviews with the candidates, we asked city voters what should be the next mayor's first priority. 34% said crime, as Mayor Adams and Sliwa would take very different approaches when it comes to the NYPD.
If you're doing actions that are so egregious that it is something that you're not suitable to lift up the nobility of public protection, you can't serve in my department.
The mayor needs to keep his nose out of the running of the police department.
What do we want? Freedom!
Thousands of the city's first responders rallied earlier Monday, protesting Mayor Bill de Blasio's COVID-19 vaccine mandate for city employees. Sliwa says when he's mayor, he'd change course on the mandate, rehire anyone who was fired for not being vaccinated, and even offer back pay.
They were being tested, the firefighters and the cops who wouldn't take the vaccine once a week. Why all of a sudden do we change this?
Eric Adams agrees with the mandate, but not with how it was implemented.
I'm going to listen to my union leadership and say, how do we get the win we need for the city?
On education, Adams and Sliwa both want to expand gifted and talented programs in city schools. But while Curtis Sliwa said he would bring snow days back and cancel school during stormy weather, Adams said the learning must go on.
We're going to continue instructions no matter what the weather is.
Eric Adams and Curtis Sliwa also share similar views on yellow taxi owners. Both believe the city should find a way to help out yellow medallion owners who are struggling under crushing debt. Reporting from the newsroom, Ayana Harry, Pix 11 News.
Well, police say they have arrested the man who vandalized a George Floyd statue in Union Square. 37-year-old Micah Beals was taken into custody earlier today on criminal mischief charges. Officials saying that he's the guy you see in this video throwing gray paint on the statue earlier this month as you rolled by. This is the second time the Floyd statue has been vandalized. Back in June, it was defaced with black paint and marked with the logo of a white supremacist group while on display in Brooklyn.
Well, police arrested 45 climate change protesters after they blocked traffic on major roads during the morning rush hour. The demonstrators interrupted traffic on the FDR Drive and West 34th Street at the West Side Highway. Members of the Extinction Rebellion NYC say if the Biden administration does not push through the climate agenda, New York City will be underwater by the year 2100.
The Flatiron District, now has some new blocks of open space. Today, the mayor joined local officials for the unveiling. This new space is catered toward pedestrians and cyclists, as you can see there, spanning from 21st to 23rd Street on Broadway, making it the largest shared street in the city. Officials say traffic is permitted, but only at 5 miles per hour. It's all part of the city's plan to give the streets back to pedestrians and cyclists.
Really is, I think, the vision for New York City going forward to take our streets, create more of these pedestrian plazas, and make sure that we're putting pedestrians and cyclists first. Part of a larger movement also to take back streets, give them to the people, and also invest in mass transit. So today's a good day.
Officials also laid out plans for streets in the Government District in Times Square, which includes a fully pedestrian-only plaza. So far, the city has completed 6 blocks of its 12-block Broadway vision.
Well, dozens of school kids in Brooklyn got a lesson in improving and honoring their community.
Yeah, the kids and their teachers took part in the 1 Million Daffodil Project. Students from PS 46 cleaned up and planted flower bulbs at a playground in Fort Greene. This year, the Daffodil Project is dedicated to those who lost their lives to COVID and the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Participants say it serves an additional purpose in the neighborhood as well.
Noting the fact that District 35 has less than 10% of the city's parkland, it's really important that we're out here not just beautifying our parks, but also calling for deeper investments in our parks, especially at a time like now when kids need to be outside.
Well, close to 50,000 volunteers have taken part in the Daffodil Project this year, the largest number since it first started in 2001.
Love the young kids getting
great,
involved,
right? Yeah.
All right, so look, more controversy for Facebook.
Yeah, this time because of leaked internal documents that reveal internal fury and dissent over the site's policies.
Yeah, plus the search for answers in New Jersey. Tonight, neighbors saying they've spotted UFOs in the skies at Patterson. Is that really? That can't be. We're looking deeper into this one after the break.
Time now for your Strictly Business Report. Starting off with a look at Wall Street. Here's how the markets wrapped up the day. Stocks ending the day higher, the Dow gaining 64 points. Well, Facebook is facing more criticism following the release of documents detailing the company's concerns about dangerous content on their platform. The Facebook papers include thousands of pages of internal chats, research, and reports. They reveal the extent of the company's knowledge of the website's effect on society, including the radicalization of some users. The documents also show a growing conflict within the company over inaction toward hate speech and incitement to political violence. Amid the fallout, Facebook reported higher profits for the latest quarter. And Amazon workers on Staten Island have taken a major step toward unionizing. They filed a petition, in fact, at the local labor office, presenting over 2,000 signatures of warehouse workers calling for a vote on forming a union. They're calling for longer breaks and better working conditions. The move comes 6 months after efforts to unionize failed at an Amazon facility in Alabama. Organizers of the movement say it's different.
This is a different energy. Being New York is a union town. The workers are organizing themselves. It's not a third party. We know the ins and outs of the company. We know the grievances. We know the issues. We live them every day. So the way we're trending, there's nothing more powerful than workers coming together.
A spokesman for Amazon says the company is challenging the legitimacy of the signatures on that petition. And that is a look at tonight's Strictly Business Report for you. Corey.
All right, Tamsin. Well, they are strange sights in the dark of night. But are they of this world? That's the big talk from Passaic County. Yeah, thank you for the sound effects, Tamsin. Just about 2 weeks ago, we told you about some unidentified flying objects hovering over Patterson. It seems like it's happening again. So we sent Andrew Ramos to investigate.
An orange light moves at a steady pace over the skies of Wayne, New Jersey, Saturday night. The scene captured by a Pix 11 News viewer who said it was just before 8:30 p.m. when the first of at least 5 lights appeared over airspace in Wayne Township, visible above Hamburg Turnpike.
I wouldn't think it's a drone.
The sighting, which had some residents scratching their heads, happens nearly 2 weeks after mysterious lights were spotted over nearby Patterson.
What is that?
Nadia De Leon, who owns her own New Jersey-based drone photography company, doesn't believe the lights are drone-related, calling attention to Halloween being around the corner and the possibility that a prankster may be to blame.
Why is it concentrated right in this area? Why not like Ringwood or, I don't know, Bergen County?
Giuseppe DeMarco, a resident of nearby Wanacue, who is also a paranormal enthusiast, believes there is more to these sightings.
There's definitely more out there. I mean, you've been hearing about this stuff for since biblical times.
While much of the unknown provides fodder for believers, it's also the centerpiece of a recent government report released over the summer that acknowledged that intelligence officials cannot explain such sophisticated movements in the skies. The formation of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force is now on the front lines of investigating such incidents. Now, according to the FAA, a UAP sighting is only documented after a pilot reports one of these sightings to a local air traffic control facility, and then it would have to be corroborated with supporting evidence before it heads to the task force. That did not happen in either case that happened in Passaic County. In Wayne, I'm Andrew Ramos, Pix 11 News.
All right. We'll figure it out one of these days.
All right, new at 10. NFL legend Tom Brady is known for doing incredible things on the football field.
Yes, but it's what he did on the sidelines in yesterday's game that has everyone talking. The special meaning behind this fan encounter, next.
And coming up in sports, it was Nets taking on the Wizards, and this was a good game. Plus, Jets making some moves, and the Mets, well, they just got rejected. Again, we'll explain because sports is next.
Well, Tom Brady added yet another milestone to his record-setting career over the weekend. He is now the first quarterback in NFL history to throw 600 touchdown passes.
Yeah, but the most meaningful moment during the Tampa Bay Bucks win over the Chicago Bears happened on the sidelines. Justin Checker from our sister station, WFLA, reports.
Good evening. Late in the fourth quarter, the GOAT gave a kid who just kicked cancer's butt a moment he'll never forget. On yet another historic Sunday for Tom Brady, the most meaningful handoff the Bucks quarterback made was to a special young fan in the stands.
That was really sweet. Yeah, obviously tough kid.
The sign Noah Reed brought to Raymond James Stadium says it all. Tom Brady helped me beat brain cancer. Near the end of the blowout win over the Bears, the 9-year-old boy from Utah was overcome with emotion when Brady handed him a hat and shook his hand. The hat Reed received from the GOAT is part of the NFL's Crucial Catch campaign. The league's mission to raise awareness and fight cancer is personal for Coach Bruce Arians. He's a 3-time cancer survivor.
I didn't get to see it until afterwards, and that makes the day. Winning is one thing, but when a young guy beats cancer and gets that, Tom going over, give him his hat, and the emotions, that's very, very special.
After that special moment with his hero, Reed was all smiles with his dad.
Puts a lot in perspective of what we're doing on the field. In the end, it doesn't mean much compared to what so many people go through.
And after the game, Noah's dad posted on Instagram, "A dream come true, still hard to believe." The post also had the hashtag #NoahStrong. Reporting in Tampa, I'm Justin Shecker for Pix 11 News.
I know there are a lot of local football fans that don't love Tom Brady, but it's hard not to like Tom Brady after that.
Yeah, there's no question about that. But, they're saying anything you do on the field means nothing in
Yeah.
comparison. I mean, that is
Perspective.
what it's all about. It sure is. All right, let's go ahead and talk about weather and tomorrow morning and getting out the door. Mr. G.
Yeah, you guys are right. It's a class act. All right, now here we go, everybody. The heaviest rain after midnight through tomorrow midday. That's how we see it. Torrential downpours in the morning. Leave yourself an extra 15-20 minutes for the AM rush. Tomorrow afternoon, there could be a break, but it will be raining a good deal of the time. Not as heavy before it tapers off rapidly, I think, tomorrow night. And then by Wednesday, we will improve. So it's raining in the Midtown area at 67. Humidity 93. North and east at 7. You could see this explosion over the ocean. This is the beginning of your nor'easter on a black and white water vapor. You can see again the trough digging on down, a frontal system, a storm developing. There's a lot of action here, and the action took shape and is taking shape as we speak. Now, you can see close up the first round of showers just missed the city, to the west of the city, just to the north of the city. You got just about an inch, but look what happens in the morning. And after midnight, 2, 3, 4 a.m., 6, 7 a.m., we're in bands of very heavy rain, and some of these downpours could give us an inch an hour before the eastern end of Long Island continues, and then slowly in the afternoon, it will begin to taper off. But later on in the afternoon and at night, the rain comes back on the backside of the storm. This has the potential of 3 to 5 inches. We showed you all the computer modeling, all of them agreeing. It's hard to go against that. Just to shave maybe a little lower, that would be the deal. The winds go north and east at 35 to 40 miles per hour. The best I can tell you here is Wednesday and Thursday is better, but we're watching a storm over the Pacific Ocean entering the Northwest Territories, and that can give us some rain around here Friday into Saturday. Halloween right now looks good. Again, drive carefully. AM will be tough.
So the last time the Nets saw Spencer Dinwiddie, Spencer was one of the stars of their team. But then he got hurt, and then he got traded. And then tonight, he got beat by his former team. It was Nets taking on the Wizards. And Nets off to a fast start here. First quarter off the miss. James Harden, watch it there. Cross-court pass to Bruce Brown Jr. with just an emphatic dunk. Nets have 5 early. Final seconds of the second half. Kevin Durant, he's got 2 defenders in his face. Pulls away from way downtown. Buries a 3, makes it look easy, no problem. KD led away with 25. So the Nets are up 17 at the half, and there will be more of that. Another big night from Patty Mills, 21 off the bench. Nets win it 104-90.
This was a good step in the right direction. It's always good to get a W. That's good for the just the morale of the team and when you win. So we want to build on it and keep growing. I mean, it's a long season. It's still the first week of the season, first few weeks of the season, so we want to just keep fine-tuning.
Yeah, more of that, please. And we were talking about this a little earlier. Jets need a quarterback. Jets need a lot of things. But yesterday, Zach Wilson, he got hurt. We were discussing this. Today, he had an MRI done, and we now know that he's out for at least the next couple weeks. So the Jets, they're making some moves. Welcome Joe Flacco to New York. Again. Yes, you may recognize the name, even if you're not a Jet fan, because Flacco started 4 games for the Jets last year. All losses, by the way. Then he went to Philadelphia, and now he's back. Last year he was Sam's backup. Then he got hurt, and Joe came in. He threw 864 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Well, the Jets, they gave up a 6th-round pick for the quarterback, which could turn into a 5th depending on how much time he spends on the field. Now, the move, it was just necessary after Zach went down during yesterday's loss to the Patriots, if you want to call it that. Embarrassment might be another word. So he sprained his PCL in his right knee. It's a setback, but coach knows it could have been worse.
You never want to see somebody lose a season to an injury ever. And they work so hard, the window's so short, and for them to lose a season, it's not ideal. But so yeah, it's more for him than anything else that he's not going to have to miss a season. He can still be very active in his rehab, active in his learning, keep pace with the install of the offense, and he'll be back before you know it.
And coach said it's not ideal. No, not ideal. Rangers back at the Garden. Winners of 4 straight, hoping to make it 5. Taking on the Flames. Second period, Rangers down 1-0. Pass intercepted, and the wrister, well, that makes it 2-0 Calgary. So same score in the third. Rangers trying to fight their way back in it. Kevin Rooney with the rebound, and he cuts that deficit right in half. But that was as close as things would get. It was only a few minutes later that happens. Blake Coleman goes top shelf for Calgary, and Rangers fall 5-1 the final. Coming up next, the Mets, they just got rejected again. We'll explain. We'll be right back. So we know the Mets have a few positions to fill, and they're trying, but they just keep getting rejected. This time, it's Giants GM Scott Harris who said thanks, but no thanks. He recently interviewed for the Mets president of baseball operations job, and the Mets, they're hoping to have their man by the end of the World Series, but tick-tock. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Andy, thank you.
All right, let's check in with you before we go.
Guys, heavy rain in the overnight period through tomorrow morning. You can see a flash flood warning in effect for Bergen and Rockland County. You can see the flooding downpours. That'll be tomorrow for the early morning rush. Again, tomorrow will be really tough early, tapers off late. Wednesday and Thursday, much better. AM drive will be very, very difficult.
Gee, thank you.
All right, thanks so much for joining us for Pix 11 News at 10. I'm Corey Chambers.
And I'm Tamsa Fidel. Join the Pix 11 Morning News starting tomorrow at 4:30 a.m. for the very latest on the nor'easter. Good night.